Hey guys, it's Steven here. Welcome back to another video talking about Ruben Dias. And this one is a special video because it's a Patreon member request video. Khalid Alka supporting me at very high tier. Thank you so much, Khalid Alka, you're an absolute hero, helping keeping this channel going full time and all that kind of stuff. Khalid, thank you so much. And as part of Khalid's Patreon benefits, he gets to request a topic once a month, and this is the topic that Khalid's chosen today. He wants to ask me 5 ways that Ruben Dias could improve Manchester City Football Club. Well, Khalid, hopefully I've risen to the challenge today for you, and I've racked my brains and came up with a bunch of categories. I mean, some of them I have stretched a little bit here and there, but some of these definitely are very much ways that Ruben Dias could improve Manchester City Football Club, and he could, by the time you're watching this, already have made his debut against Leeds, and he could already, I mean, that might be tomorrow when I'm putting it out, but either way, Ruben Dias, we could have already hopefully seen the signs showing how he could improve City and not how I'm wrong. Fingers crossed. Anyway, patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany if you want to get involved and help support this channel a little bit. If not, no worries at all. Keep giving these videos likes and subscribes, and that means more than you could possibly imagine to me. So we're going to start initially with the first way of the 5 ways that Ruben Dias could bring Manchester City, and it's that leadership. Yeah, you can't really think of Ruben Dias without thinking of that leadership trait, and for good reason. Ruben Dias is famously a natural born leader. You speak to any Benfica fan, speak to anyone who's watched Portuguese football for any period of time, and they all say the same thing. This guy was absolutely born to be a captain. He was born to lead other players and take them into battle, so to speak, metaphorically. Could there even be shades of Vincent Kompany to his general demeanour? I mean, I hope so. We all seen that interview after he signed for Manchester City Football Club. I think it's fair to say that the guy's a warrior. You know, he's focused, he's determined, and he won't let anyone push him around. I love that attitude. I think it's fair to say, well, largely as well, City have been crying out for some natural leadership. Since Vincent Kompany left, there's been a huge hole, a huge vocal presence has been missing from Manchester City's first team. I would even, and you've seen me argue this before, I would argue even someone like the loss of Fabian Delph was a disappointment too. We've seen Fabian Delph behind the closed doors in the dressing room, berating his colleagues for a lack of composure and a lack of essentially a winner's mentality. And we know Vincent Kompany was also like absolutely enormous around the Etihad and the CFA in general because he is genuinely a legend. And we've lost 2 very vocal players there, obviously one more important than the other, but that doesn't change the fact that 2 massive vocal leaders have gone. So maybe, just maybe, Manchester City needs someone right now who can get the players fired up and get them going emotionally, and that is entirely what Ruben Dias is capable of doing at Manchester City Football Club, and it's why I'm excited about watching him there. Sometimes you need a player who can just come in and get the players in a huddle, and given the fact he speaks English, he could already do this perfectly anyway. Get him in the huddle, get him motivated, and get the best out of certain players. You probably need someone else to react to. Now, personally, I think someone like Bernardo Silva potentially has a bit of an edge to his game too, but I don't think he's ever going to be the one to get everyone else going individually, but I do think he'll be a good, like, you know, a good kind of like lieutenant, you know, someone who's not quite the leader, but maybe a lieutenant's leaders, I don't know, a good general maybe, whatever, whichever one's like this, the secondary guy, a good captain of the men. I've said 3 different types of ranks there. One of them's got to be the kind of thing I'm referring to, but someone who will bounce off that leader and get everyone else fired up. I reckon someone like Bernardo Silva could need someone like Ruben Dias to bring that edge out of his game. And what's to say he won't bring the edge out of the game with someone else in the team as well? Loads of players probably looking for someone around to have that kind of leadership and that instinctive captain ability to get the best out of them, and that's what I'm hoping Ruben Dias can bring. Most importantly, almost the most important trait that he's got to Manchester City Football Club. Second, what he can bring is balance, and do not underestimate the importance of balance in a whole team in general. You haven't got any lopsided weaknesses potentially. Now, when you look at Manchester City's defence last year, there was constantly players in different positions. We had left footers, we had right footers at left centre back. We had one tall guy, one small guy, one midfielder, one old guy. It was constantly confusing, constantly all over the place, and constantly different every single time. And the one thing Ruben Dias can bring is potentially this balance alongside someone like Laporte, simply because he's a right-footed centre-back alongside a left-footed centre-back, and he's about the same height. None of these are going to be targeted aerially because none of these are weaknesses. There's no obvious weakness in the defence immediately there. And both of them are also capable of doing very similar things. You'll have Laporte pinging it over to the right wing with his diagonals. You'll have Ruben Dias pinging it over to the left wing with his diagonals. And you'll have both winning headers. Normally you see when we've got someone like Garcia playing there, or even Fernandinho because he's not the tallest. Fernandinho is good in the air, but when we've got Garcia playing there, you have teams targeting that side of the pitch. You won't have people doing that now with Ruben Dias because he's a physical beast. And it's just nice to know that there'll be no obvious weak points, and we'll have perfectly, hopefully, two centre-backs who bring a real kind of equilibrium to that defence and can be pushing people around. You'll have Diaz looking after his right back equally, the way that Laporte looks after the left back equally. It'd be absolutely fantastic. Thirdly, it's just a small point, but this kind of stuff actually is important when you're mounting a title challenge or when you're trying to win trophies. The third thing for me is consistency. Now, by that I mean genuinely this guy is absolutely 100% reliable. Touch wood, my table's made of wood and I'm touching him right now because I don't want to jinx the poor guy. But this guy is literally never injured. I think he's had one spell on the sidelines because he had his appendix out. I think you'll kind of let him off for that one. But he's never there. He's never not there. He's always there. He's an absolute battering ram. He doesn't miss games. He rarely gets sent off as well. I think he was sent off once last season as well, which is not that big a deal at all. So basically, you can rely on Ruben Dias to be there. And what that allows you is to build a solid back four that can be depended on. That consistency is such an underrated aspect when you think of Manchester City's defenders over the years. Stones, unfortunately, been constantly injured and constantly being unable to rely on. You can't rely on Otamendi because he's an accident waiting to happen, unfortunately. Laporte, unfortunately, has had injuries recently. Vincent Kompany, even at his best, was getting injured often too. There's something to be said for a guy who's just there constantly and bringing that consistency to Manchester City Football Club. That is how Diaz can be useful because you can rely on him, which means you can potentially make plans. And he's young enough to be there for an awful long time as well, meaning you don't have to worry about him at any point. Fourthly, tactically, mainly just because having high quality centre backs in itself brings tactical options. When you've got someone like Ruben Dias who's great in the air, it means certain players have to take less responsibilities. It means certain players, for example, like Fernandinho, don't have to play in defence because we've got reliable centre-backs. It means Fernandinho can play in a double pivot without having to essentially weaken our defence. It also means we can play maybe three at the back. Now we've got Ake, Laporte and Diaz, three high-quality centre-backs there. Maybe Manchester City and Guardiola decide that the best way for City to line up now is with three at the back, and we can basically have a little bit of variance. Maybe we can have some wing backs bombing forward, Cancelo or Mendy on the left, Walker on the right, or Cancelo or something like that. That variety that it brings to us is incredibly reliable. Now, when we played Leon and played three at the back, we played not very fit yet, Laporte. Then we played Fernandinho, an old midfielder there, and Garcia, who's achingly slow. This time, we could be an awful lot more balanced with leadership, experience, composure, and tactically, it makes an awful lot of sense potentially to make this work. That tactical versatility now, with confidence that we've got players for the right position, is absolutely, it's absolutely perfect. And finally, he can prove us in an attacking sense as well. Ruben Dias is a very, very, very good footballer, first and foremost. He's not just a big physical brute, though he definitely is a wall, don't get me wrong, but he's more than that as well. He's a natural footballer, and that is incredibly, incredibly useful. His willingness to push up into midfield cannot be underestimated, and that trait, of course, will allow Manchester City to commit men forward to help swarm opponents, especially when we're playing against a really low block. Ruben Dias's ability to step into midfield can be incredibly useful. Put it this way, he's not scared to get forward. He's also not scared to score a goal or two as well. He's very good in the area going forward, and he will be a physical threat. Obviously, he's much taller. He's taller than Otamendi, taller than Fernandinho. He's taller than Garcia as well. And the way that John Stones occasionally was good at scoring a goal in the air from a corner, this guy, I've got no doubt, will be potentially even better than that, given the fact that he's a little bit more aggressive and he's there more often. As well, according to the stats, he made more accurate passes, 3,668, than any other player since the start of the 18-19 season over in Portugal, which 100% suits City style of play. And also, since the start of the 2018-19 season in Portugal, only Bruno Viana and Zenedine Jr. have made more accurate long balls than Diaz. Only two players made more accurate long balls. So basically as well, in attacking sense, Ruben Dias is very adept at breaking the lines. And one of the things he's really good at as well is pinging long passes over the top to hit those wingers. Very much in the Laporte sense. And we all know how much Guardiola values that switching of play and how much he values that breaking of lines. This is what Ruben Dias could bring to Manchester City Football Club. And I'm really, really excited. These are just some things amongst the other things. We could have talked about his aerial ability as well, or his physicality, how we've been a little bit of a weak team, and all that kind of stuff, and his aggression. We could have talked about all those things, but these are 5 things that I personally picked out. Khalid, I hope you enjoyed the video, mate. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone who's given the channel loads of support recently. I finally just beat Blooming Rising TV, the channel that I used to be on for ages. Now I'm a bigger channel than them, which feels absolutely wonderful. Technically, I'm not saying the best or anything like that. I'm technically the biggest Manchester City, non-Man City official channel on YouTube, which is wonderful. Finally, I am. And it's really nice because of all you guys and all these names scrolling down on the side of the screen, my YouTube members and my Patreon members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It means more than you could possibly imagine. Guys, there'll also be a preview on, it might be uploaded already or before or after this, but I've already done watch the preview of the Leeds game. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. Give this video a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you in a bit.